Hi, welcome to the Codcast, Commonwealth Magazine's weekly podcast of politics and policies and the people who practice and influence both. I'm Commonwealth reporter Jack Sullivan. Legal marijuana is big business, and big business generally means big money to get into an industry. And in this country, when you talk in corporate investments, it's usually men, often white men, who flood the market with cash. But Massachusetts, through its Cannabis Control Commission and regulations, is hoping to change that with programs and regulations that level the playing field for those usually at a disadvantage when it comes to startups. That means minorities and women have the opportunities to get their feet in the door before large corporations can dominate the field. With us today are two women who are starting their own marijuana companies. Caroline Frankel is the owner of Caroline's Cannabis Garden and Home Decor. She has recently received a decision on her license application and has been deemed complete for a retail recreational marijuana store in Uxbridge. Welcome, Caroline.
Thank you, Jack.
Also joining us is Angela Brown. She's co-founder and CEO of T-Bear Inc., a new marijuana product manufacturer to be based in Wareham. T-Bear is one of the first companies statewide to be awarded municipal approval and submitted a completed application, which they've also recently received notice that it has been accepted. They're tracking to be one of, if not the first, standalone manufacturer in the state. Welcome, Angela.
Thank you, Jack.
So let's start there. Why are you getting into marijuana? I mean, there's other things that you can get into. Why marijuana?
I've been a 17-year enthusiast myself. Born and raised in Mass. I went to college at Johnson & Wales and, just pursued my interest. I'm a graduate from the Northeastern Institute of Cannabis. And this is just something that is completely passion-driven for me at this point.
When you went to the Northeast Institute, how many women were there?
There were probably 5 or 6 instructors that were women, and I would say at least 40% of the class was women.
And what prompted you to want to get into it right now, you can't do anything.
You can't do anything.
You're not going. You're just sitting and you're waiting. What is it that said to you, hey, I can make it here?
I don't know. I just always had the passion behind me. For someone who is an enthusiast for that long, a medical patient of the state, I believe in the product and really can get behind it. And I don't know, Jack, it's just something that I've wanted to do for a really, really long time.
What about you, Angela? What were you doing before you got into this? What prompted you to get into manufacturing?
Sure. So prior to this, I was working in the startup world in Boston. Really intrigued by that, the startup world, super chaos, and building something from the ground up. So I've always been motivated by that. Similar to Caroline, marijuana has been a passion as well as a medicine for me. So I've experienced the medicinal benefits and the life benefits, I'll call it. From that, as legalization started, it was the aha moment, I have a chance. This is where I can, and then the attitude of why not? It is our time. It's a brand new industry, and it's one that we can all take part in.
It's getting into marijuana is the industry itself is a big investment for the most part, which is why it's dominated by corporations. What is it that's going to allow you as a woman starting up that may or may not have that kind of backing behind you? What's helping you get into it?
Well, we're going to be doing traditional fundraising that you see. We are working on a friends and family round right now, and we are working with angel investors and VCs. Other than that, it's really, I think, our passion. I do have a partner that is part of this, so it's our passion that's going to push us through. And we have always been driven by a consumer goods. It's been something in our background that we've always wanted to create. With the marijuana, we really see a void in the market for brand recognition, for that consistency, and that's what we want to bring to the market. And we saw the best avenue as being a standalone manufacturer to focus on that.
Caroline, do you sense any kind of pushback? Are any doors closed to you because of your gender, do you think?
I don't think so. I think I have to push a little harder.
Well, then let me add, neither of you sound like there's any kind of barriers that you're seeing or that you're feeling. Why then do we need equity regulations in Massachusetts to allow women to get in?
I think you have to. I think I think what we're seeing is if we don't, we need women investors right from the ground up supporting these entrepreneurs and future entrepreneurs.
Why?
I think if we don't, it's going to become a fully male-dominated industry. And if we see that, we're seeing a lot of studies coming out. I know Marijuana Business Daily, they did a study, and it has to be about women getting in on the ground floor, because then it creates that whole trickle-down effect, right?
But again, if you're not feeling that kind of resistance, if you're not facing that kind of rejection, why do we need regulations that level the playing field for women? Why is that necessary? If, like you said, you're not finding that.
Well, that's just my experience.
It is there, and I guess Caroline and I are speaking at the high level of what we're dealing with, but it 100% is there. I do have a male counterpart.
When you say 100, what is there?
The same experience that there is a lack of funding. So women in 2018 or 2017 received 2% of all venture capitalist funding. There were billions
In
of
the
dollars
business or across the
across the
all,
United States, in all, 2%. In marijuana, we were seeing in 2015, I believe it was something like 36% of marijuana corporations, were led by women. It's down to 26 or 24% in 2017. So we're seeing a decline. And that's why, although Caroline and I think and I have had a lot of wins, we've had to fight really, really hard for those wins. When you do walk into these networking events, you are one of the only females in the room. It is often when I'm with my partner, he is approached first to talk to. His emails to VCs are responded to and mine are not. It's the same email. It's a different signature. So you are seeing it, and we are rising above that. And Massachusetts is doing a good job. And although women-owned businesses were not qualified under the equity applicant, they are doing a great job at encouraging women to come forward and to follow their dream of opening companies here.
I understand women were not part of the equity application, but part of the social equity regulations do include women and women-led businesses.
Yes.
What is it that the Cannabis Control Commission is doing that will allow women to expand their footprint in the industry?
I'm not part of that program, so I'm not 100% sure what they're doing exactly.
Well, what
I know
should
that
they
the
do?
ones
What do you think they should do then?
Sure. I think they've been holding conferences and round tables rather, to have people encourage community members to come out. I know they've been holding those in areas like where I live in Dorchester, and those have been great. I think more of those would be amazing if they could have it in their bandwidth to have those that help get the community out there.
Let me ask you, Caroline. I have this perception that marijuana is this bro industry. It's like the guys. It's when you think of, well, actually, when you look at arrest records, for instance, men dominate the arrest records, and that's where some of the equity regulations go towards, are people that are disadvantaged by the marijuana laws. But there's always this perception that it's a guy thing. You have already signed a letter of intent, I believe, or some type of agreement with Angela's company. Is that because she's a woman-led company, or is that because that's who you had to go to?
I mean, I always want to support female businesses in the state. But no, she's a like-minded business person. I look at her as a business person. And I think having that like-minded interest and both being enthusiasts, and I can stand behind her products, I think a collaboration and having her products in my store is a win for everybody.
Something that Angela was just talking about when she goes to different conferences and sends out emails. I haven't heard you say anything about any other partners or
No.
So it's just you.
This is completely self-funded for me. Put my life savings up. This is my dream, and I'm going to pursue it. But I do know. I mean, I've had conversations about investors in the beginning part of when I was putting my business plan together, and it's male dominated. The people, unfortunately, women just do not have the access to capital. And that part of that social equity program they were talking about, Jack, with the commission, I think they're going to try to leverage these women. They're, maybe here's a direction, or here's a bank to go look at, or maybe here's an accounting, just to get things going in the right direction and support these women. But it is funding, investors. It's typically all men.
You brought up the numbers a little bit ago, and I saw similar numbers to that. I found it interesting that it used to be initially, when you're talking Colorado and Oregon and California, that it was, well, actually Colorado and Oregon, it was in the low to mid 30 rates. Now it's dropping down to less than a quarter as the industry expands, as it opens up. So you've got more men saying, more male-dominated companies saying, hey, there's some cash to be made. How do you fight against that? How is it that women can get their footing into it?
First and foremost, believe in each other. I think we need, being the minority within our own minority community, the cannabis community itself, I think we need to help work with each other, and not just first and foremost because you're females, but come together and recognize that we can build each other up, and that this is a brand new industry and there's a lot of room for everyone.
Well, let me ask then, what is it that is attracting this type of large investment? Why do we have so many corporations that are going into this business now? I mean, if there is the possibility for small investors like yourselves to be able to do it, what's the advantage for a large corporation to come in and flood it with cash?
A business like mine?
Yeah.
To invest in mine?
Well, no, to actually to stomp you out, for instance, for somebody to take over your area.
That's a very real situation, and I think about it often. But for me, for someone who has been an enthusiast for so long, I believe in small business in the world of cannabis. If I was a shopper, I'd want to shop at a small store and support small local businesses in the state, the cultivators, the product manufacturers. And I hope people have that mindset when they come and shop, and that kind of changes shop small and not these big companies.
Well, let me ask you, Angela, is it fair? I mean, I asked you guys to come in to talk about women in the industry, women in the business. Is that a fair topic? Is it something that maybe we shouldn't be focusing on, maybe focus it on as small business as opposed to gender-based business?
Yes, that I do believe that male counterparts to Caroline and I are having the same issues. As I mentioned, it is my partner and I, my boyfriend and I of 11 years, who have created this company together. So he, too, as a young white male, does deal with the same rejection from some of the investment people he's reaching out to, the classic VCs, as not taking him serious because he's not an older, person that has these years and years of direct pharmaceutical experience. The different experiences you're seeing kind of rise up in these corporations. So it is 100% a small business issue in Massachusetts, and I believe furthermore it affects women a step further as well. Yep.
Is it fair then to say that women need this help from regulators, that you need this kind of backing, that you need this kind of cleared path to get in there?
Yeah, I think so.
Why?
Look, I mean, just for myself. I mean, I look at my own story. I'm paying I have a license right now. I'm paying a lease. I have all these things. I'm building out a retail store. And I think women need to group together because I think that's what's going to leverage the industry for us, Jack.
Are there higher expectations on you?
Yes.
Do you feel it than there would be? It's not fair to say than there would be as a guy because you're not a guy. But do you feel that there's higher expectations on you, that there's a demand to know more, to show more?
I think I'm challenged a little more. Even in the municipality world, I always felt like I had to go in and ready to rock it to my full potential. Because even at the municipality, I always felt that I was, I'm a woman and I'm going against these other male companies, that I had to bring it even stronger to really make my presence and my story stand out amongst other businesses.
Did you feel that as well, Angela, when you went into some of these municipal meetings? You and your partner, did they look at him and say, would like to hear you now, or were you challenged? Do you think more than a guy would be?
Specifically at the municipal level, I was fortunate I didn't feel that. We did meet with a wonderful team in Wareham. They were very kind. They were a diverse team themselves, which was welcoming. And that also could be, I think, a big factor. It depends on who is sitting across from the table. As far as challenged, I do feel, though, in settings that I've been in, whether it's sit-down meetings or social settings, that there is a little bit more test put on me, a little bit more poking into my knowledge, and just the assumption that I don't know what I'm getting into or I don't know what I'm doing. But I think that just plays into, in the past and current women in general, I believe that, again, the statistic was as high as 70%, don't say that they smoke marijuana. They do not partake in usage. And the 72% said because they were fearful of what others would think of them. So I think that just goes along to assume that women don't smoke, women don't partake, women don't know,
Right.
And that's the idea we're fighting against a little bit.
And I guess that goes to what I was saying a minute ago about the bro mentality.
Yes.
That it is definitely it appears to be a male based industry,
Right.
both as consumers and as industry. Do you fear that will affect you once you open up?
I don't. I mean, we all more statistics have come out. More men smoke than women, who at least want to vote on it, right? So I agree with you on that. But it's hard. As a woman, you have to come out as you have to support your industry and your community, your friends, your family. And what your business intentions are. And that can be frightening for women, women who have children. They're a little bit more reluctant to jump into this industry.
At the state level, usually when you look at regulatory industries, you're looking at a group of white men with some minorities, some women in there. You look at the Cannabis Control Commission, 4 out of the 5 members are women. The chief of staff is a woman.
That's awesome.
They have gone out of their way to increase the representation of women in there. Do you find that to be helpful for you guys?
Yes.
Yes.
In what way? What is it that?
It puts a female face to cannabis in Massachusetts. I think when you first think cannabis, the cannabis control, you instantly, like you said, it's 4 to 1. It is female majority, and I think that was wonderful, and it's diverse too. I believe as the staff grows, it will become even more diverse, hopefully. But that's something, again, we can all look up from the audience and see someone that looks like us, and I think that's that classic mentality. When you look around and you see someone that looks like you or resembles you, you belong here, and we want to build that as a community. And I want to show, and I'm sure Carolyn does too, other women, you belong here. So if you're interested in the industry, you have a chance. It's a lot of hard work in general. It's a brand new industry. You just have to be determined to work really, really hard.
And that brings up a good point. It is a brand new industry that they're creating here in Massachusetts. I mean, they do have the medical side of it that's been going for a while now, but we're creating this whole new retail industry. Will it not become dominated by women, but will it have a fair representation, do you think?
I think so. I do.
I do. I mean, we're seeing now there's at least 2, if not 3, medical groups that are women-led, and one of them was one of the first to open.
That's the one in Needham, I believe.
Brookline?
Brookline.
Netta?
Yeah.
I think it's Brooklyn, Greenland. But you are seeing a fair representation in Massachusetts. We just need to continue that. So the medical program has been fair, although we've seen very few open. So what has opened in the recent months has been rather telling, though, that they are owned by men.
Have you spoken with women in other states that have gotten into the industry, in Colorado, California?
Personally, not so much. I try to follow the stories as much as I can. But no, I really haven't.
There are industry groups, so there's like Women
Yes.
Grow. And
I'm a
Yes.
member of Women's Grow. Yep. And I try to be involved in as much as possible. That's kind of where I started networking wise when Women's Grow came to Boston with Beth Waterfall, and met a ton of great women there, of all ancillary type businesses and some that are extremely successful right now in the state. So I do. What I've learned, I've really taken with me and tried to make it my own to move forward.
Have you spoken with some people in other areas?
I have some. It is a little different because one of the common themes that I've heard from the women I spoke to through Fortunate, 2 in Colorado and 1 in California, and the one thing they always sympathize with is that it was a different time. You know, they were able to open these businesses in their homes. In California, you could have a kitchen, cook out of your residential kitchen, and create medicated treats to be sold. So it was different, but they still face the same stigma that we are, that women don't necessarily know, that you don't belong here, that when you do walk into these places or these meetings, you are the only female. So that was kind of what I took away from that, is that it can be done. They've done it, and we can do it too. And it just goes with everyone starting any sort of company. Hard work and believing in yourself, and just knowing that what you put in now will pay out tenfold as long as you stay focused.
Well, thank you. This has been very educational for me. I appreciate it. That's it for this week's edition of the Codcast. We'd like to thank Caroline Frankel and Angela Brown for joining us today. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jack.
You can subscribe to the Codcast on iTunes or listen to it on iCloud. You can also go to our website, www.commonwealthmagazine.org, and click on the fish. I'm Jack Sullivan of Commonwealth Magazine. Join us again next week for another episode of the Codcast, and thanks for listening.